Hello everyone, BMI here today. Very excited to give you guys a tournament breakdown of the very first SVE Master Championship, brought to you by SVEmaster.com. There was a 500 USD prize pool with 77 players, 7 Swiss rounds cut to a top 8, where various tier 1 decks battled for supremacy, until eventually it was OOC from Australia who managed to take it home with Midrange Forest. So in terms of why we decided to run this event, so those of you in the US and also all of us in Australia, notice that there were no major tournaments for BP05, which is a major shame because it's a great set and it's also the first anniversary set. So we want to test two theories out. The first one is that SVE players would like at least one major event per expansion. And the second one was that online webcam tournaments were a viable way to achieve this. So I would say that at the end of the day, we did manage to achieve this. We had a very positive reception, not only from the players, but also from the people that watch the stream. So it would be great to run this again. Just a quick mention that pretty much the entire admin team were Australian and we were all working for completely free. It was voluntary all the way. We did it from 11 p.m. at night, our time. We worked all the way up until 10 a.m. in the morning. So, I'm not sure if you guys could notice, but in the cast I was nearing my limits towards the end. But it was a banger series. Definitely recommend all of you check it out, especially with Different Fight so kindly joining us for the grand finals. And casting completely voluntarily. So if you did miss out, you can definitely check out the VODs on our YouTube channel. So from Swiss round 1 all the way through to the grand finals. Okay, so moving on to the top 8 breakdown. So for those of you familiar with our other website, SVE Master, we usually have conversion rates on our site, but we haven't been able to do much of this for SVE because of the fact that we don't get all the data, but because we ran this tournament, we had access to everything. So finally, we have conversion rates. And the story of this is basically Haven is extremely strong right now. So Aegis Haven and Egg Haven are the most popular decks and also have the most top 8 slots as well. So no surprise with Haven being strong. And then we also have Midrange Forest, which only 4 people brought, kind of surprising to be honest. And we also had a 25% conversion rate with that, with the actual champion being Midrange Forest as well. And then we also have Ramp Dragon. So this one was a bit of a sleeper pick. Prussia went 7-0 with this in Swiss, unfortunately falling to the wayside in top 8 cut. We did have this tier 3, but maybe we could move it up depending on how the rest of the meta progresses. And then we have Usurpation Sword. So this one's also relatively popular with 7 players, but only 1 managed to make it to the top 8. So overall, my main thought about this is that it was very similar to what we put for the tier list at the start of the expansion. Ramp Dragon, obviously we didn't see this one coming, but for each of the other 4 tier 1 decks, they all made the top 8 cut. So that's very reassuring. Okay, so moving to the first place deck with OOC. So you'll see that this is very similar to the GP list that we posted in the tier list from Japan. So basically, it runs a lot of the new BP05 cards like Fina, obviously a great consistency engine, kills 1 droughts, and then Homecoming, which synergizes extremely well with Spinario. And he's also, I think it's cut it down to 40 cards, but it's also slotted in 1 copy of Stariov, which was a very intelligent pick, I think, because of how popular Aegis Haven was in this tournament. And also, if you don't draw Harvest Festival, it is very difficult to stay in the game against them. And he definitely versed a lot of Aegis Haven all day, and it paid off for him. So it's a very solid mid-range elephant deck. Definitely recommend giving it a try. So next up, we have Aegis Haven from Tanjiro. So we did call him the Demon Slayer, because of how similar his name is to the main character. But anyway, this list, it was a bit interesting because he ran 3 copies of the Statue Seraph. We usually see only 0 or maybe even 1 copy of this. But aside from that, it was a pretty standard list. I mean, all of the Control Haven lists have a similar game plan. It is really just about answering your opponent's board, eventually surviving long enough that you can drop Aegis, and also abusing Marwyn, who is an 8/8 aura, which is so difficult to deal with. And you saw this all day on the stream, so definitely a fairly powerful deck, one of the best in the entire format. Next up, we have Seiji Bianca. So this guy's list was a little bit different in terms of the tech options. So he's running 2 copies of Erd, obviously to deal with stuff like Tin Soldier. And then he's also not running as many copies of this in Statue Seraph. He runs 1 copy. But this did come in very handy in his match against Prussia, who was a 7-0 Ramp Dragon player. So he went Marwyn, Evo, and then he went in Statue Seraph, and then he played very skillfully with his Aegises to clinch the win, so definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested in Aegis Haven gameplay. We have Burn Boy, so he brought the other Haven deck, which is Egg Haven. So I've mentioned this a lot. This deck is really, really strong. It's kind of shaped the meta around it. But he's running kind of a 2 Goblin build. This was very popular in terms of the entire tournament. But yeah, overall, nothing too interesting about Aegis Haven in particular. There are no real innovations. Usually there's only a few tech slots that you can even use in the first place. Moving along, we have our only Usurpation sword in the entire tournament that made top 8. So this list, I think, was a little bit interesting because it's running kind of one copy of Armored Stars as a tech option. It's not running the full 3 Leonidas, and it's only running 1 Evolve. It's also running tech options like the Aurelia and also Albert. So we don't see this too often, but after Leonidas' resolve goes down, this is 12 damage Storm, so an ever powerful combo that we saw all the way from BP02. But overall, it functions very similarly. It's just about the options that they have available. Maid Leader as well, we don't see too much of, but clearly just a very strong consistency tool. So overall, I think this Usurpation Sword is pretty good. I just think it has a bit of a weakness against Haven in general, because Aegis Haven is a little bit faster, and then Aegis Haven has a lot of banish, so it's hard to resolve the Leonidas. Okay, next we have the 7-0 Ramp Dragon deck from Prussia. So Prussia, I think this was very much tech to beat Aegis Haven. 3 copies of Lyrial, which is exceptional against Aegis Haven, plus a Path of Purgatory, which synergizes, because you don't take any life damage if you have Lyrial on the field. So we've got 2 copies of Urn, which can be used to get rid of Tin Soldiers. And then apart from that, lots of healing, so much healing. I'm not surprised this deck went 7-0, to be honest, after kind of looking at the meta and the likely matchup spreads he would have had. But it is unfortunate that he did fall in the top 8 match. I think the Instatued Seraph is definitely very strong against Ramp Dragon in particular. Okay, so moving along, we have Aegis Haven. So yet another Aegis Haven list. It does seem pretty similar to the one that we saw before from Burn Boy. I think the main difference is that Burn Boy wasn't running any cudgels, whereas Senpai Salt was. I do like Cudgel myself. I think Cudgel is a strong tempo option, but I think given the kind of matchup spreads, especially with so much Aegis Haven, I can kind of see how Burn Boy cutting the Cudgel sort of made sense. But yeah, anyway, Aegis Haven, good deck as always. And the final deck, we have Nico bringing Aegis Haven yet again. So he is the only one in the top 8 to have brought the Gilneas package. So Gilneas is always a very strong card for any control deck. But it is ultimately personal preference in terms of, in terms of what you like to bring in that Aegis Haven list. So that's pretty much the top 8 lists. If you guys are interested in kind of using any of these decks for reference or net decking, we will have the link to this in the description below, so make sure to check that out. And then finally, before we close off, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters, so Rockstar, Siege, Gerald Basuka, Framework, Himanshu, Rise, and Yami no Okami. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep pumping out content like this. And then also, if you guys are interested in supporting us, we have just launched the BP05 Aegis Haven guide. I really do think $5 is way too low for the content I put in this one. If you are on the fence, or if you do need a bit more additional guidance with Aegis Haven, I definitely recommend checking that out. And we'll soon have a BP05 UMA guide, so it'll be updated with additional information around the matchups and also kind of the new deck list. So, ultimately, I think the Patreon is great value if you guys are interested, but no pressure. So that's pretty much it for the very first SVE Master Championship. I'm very thankful to all the people who participated, all the people who tuned in, and also all the people who volunteered their time to make this into a reality. Really hope we can do this again in the future. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys all next time.